Of all the games released over the last generation, Persona 5 and in its enhanced release Royal delivered some of the best experiences of the generation. It was an incredibly enjoyable, stylish and fantastic JRPG that was a blast from beginning to end. With a likeable cast of characters and a wonderful world, the Phantom Thieves' adventure to change the corrupted hearts of Tokyo had a special place in many gamers' hearts. So it's no surprise that Atlus has brought the Phantom Thieves back for another adventure in Persona 5 Strikers, a Warriors-inspired sequel, so let's see if it delivers another quality Persona-like adventure. Let's find out. When Persona 5 Strikers was announced a while ago and it was to be a Warriors game, it made me think there was going to be something in the lines of Hyrule Warriors or Dragon Quest Heroes. I thought it would take the Warriors gameplay and put a Persona skin over it, but surprisingly it's much more that and more of a traditional Persona game than anything else, and that's far more exciting. Let's start off with the story first. Set as a direct sequel to Persona 5, this sees Joker and the crew returning back after several months for a summer break. Obviously, things don't go to plan as there's more corrupted hearts that need to be changed. On the journey, Joker and the team will be joined by a couple of new characters. We have an AI called Sophie, as well as a detective called Zenkichi. Both are well written and woven into the team really well. Overall, the story is more the same, but it's more Persona 5, which means it's brilliant. Spending more time with the Phantom Thieves is nothing more than a joy, and to see more character development of them is great. Though it should be said that folks who haven't played Persona 5 will be a little lost with the tale and the references to Persona 5, so if you're planning on getting this and haven't played either the original game or Royal, it's best to look up the story online first, as you'll get much more out of the game. On to the actual gameplay now, and it's certainly a surprising mix. As I said before, I went in expecting a Hyrule Warriors-like experience, but instead the game is very much a traditional Persona game. You still travel through dungeons, through the metaverse, and explore Tokyo in your downtime, all with that Warriors twist however. When you start exploring dungeons, you have to pick 4 characters to take with you on your journey, and you can pick any characters from the Phantom Thieves. For example, you've got Makoto, Morgana and Yuzuki to name but a few. Going through the dungeons are surprisingly deep and expansive with a great amount of verticality. As you go through the game's many dungeons, you'll come across many different enemies, and instead of your typical turn-based battles that you face in Persona 5, in Strikers we have the tried and tested Warriors combat instead. You still go through the dungeons and you have to sneak in the shadows to catch enemies off guard, but once you finally get into battle you have your typical light and heavy attacks that you can mix up and match to make your own combos. The combat is rather similar to a typical Warriors game, so it may be a bit repetitive for some, though the only real fault I have with the combat is that the camera doesn't tend to have a mind of its own, so you constantly have to battle with the camera as well as the enemies. Also in combat, there's the ability to use your persona power. The team all has access to their own specific persona, like Arn has Carmen and Ruji has Captain Kidd. Each persona has their own powers and abilities that can be used to help defeat the many monsters in your way. Joker, like in the main game, can access multiple personas and switch between them on the fly in battles to find an elemental attack that can weaken strong opponents. You press the R button, which pauses time and allows you to pick your attack, and this adds a decent amount of strategy to the gameplay. Add in the baton pass, which allows you to swap between characters and also use their own persona powers. It adds for a great amount of variety to the gameplay. Though the persona powers are great and all, they can't be used endlessly as these attacks are tied to SP, and you'll notice in the game's early hours you'll be running out of SP fast and exiting the dungeons and re-entering them to refill your SP. Many times against harder enemies and bosses I lost count the amount of times I ran out of SP, and it did lead me to losing a few battles. Thankfully, a few more hours into the game you learn how to cook items on the fly that help you gain SP back, which is a big help. To be honest, I was actually surprised how difficult the game was in its early hours. Thankfully, as you level up your squad and gain access to new powers, items and the like, battles become more easier later on, though you'll probably want to do a bit of grinding in the early hours. Gaining new personas is also a worthwhile exploit as you gain new abilities, so you'll be best to go to the Velvet Room to upgrade your personas and combine personas to gain new ones. When you're not in battles or exploring dungeons, you explore the many streets of Tokyo. You go into shops to buy items, explore to gather evidence against your current target, as well as just spending more time with the team. It's amazing how much downtime there actually is, as there's a large amount of sections that feature heavy exposition that may confuse folks who haven't played the original game. Persona 5 was a very long game, easily taking you upwards of 100 hours if you want to finish it properly, but thankfully Strikers is a much more shorter experience. It's still a long game in its own right, taking you a very respectable 30 plus hours, and to fully complete the game, do most of the side quests and reach the level cap, then it's easily a 40 to 50 hour experience, which is great. As for the presentation side of things, Persona 5 Strikers uses the same great style of the original and Royal with very flashy and stylish menus. The graphical art style still stands out after all these years on both PS4 and Switch. The game runs at 60 FPS on the PS4 Pro and the PS5 I should imagine, and it all runs relatively smoothly. As for the Switch, it's 30 FPS, and whilst there's a notable drop in graphical fidelity, it still looks fine and the frame rate is rock solid on all consoles. Onto the music now, and oh boy, it's brilliant. It's a Persona game, so you know it's going to have to be brilliant. Most of the tracks from the original release are here, which is no bad thing, as they were all catchy tunes. But there's some new tunes here. We have some rock remixes of beloved tracks, and some new tunes brought into the mix. But rest assured, it's another awesome soundtrack that will have you humming long after you're finished playing. Conclusion time now, and Persona 5 Strikers is a wonderful sequel to the beloved RPG that masterfully mixes Dynasty Warriors gameplay into the Persona series. It's remarkable how much it actually feels like a Persona game, with a deep narrative and more character development. Its combat is fun and frantic with a nice dollop of strategy to boot. It's not flawless, however, as the camera has a mind of its own, and those who haven't played the original will likely be a bit lost here. But if you've been with the Phantom Thieves since the beginning, then Strikers is a must-buy. So with that, I'm giving Persona 5 Strikers an 8.5 out of 10 with the title of great. As always, thank you for watching my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could like and subscribe, that would be great. And until next time, happy gaming. Bye.